Hey, so this is the Drunkalogs, a podcast about addiction and recovery in which each guest shares their version of how it was, what happened, and how it is now, and then endures a half-hour Q&A at the hands of your host, Nick Morton. My next guest is a food service manager at a mental health and recovery center here in Los Angeles, where she is also currently studying to get her certificate in substance abuse counseling. We were introduced by her fiancé, Kevin McGahey, who was my 7th guest on this podcast. Her story here gets pretty dark and desperate before she reconnects with an innocence inside that was, of course, right there all along, and then determines to finally grow up. Won't you please welcome Adele Hare.
I relate to like old drinkers. I relate to Bill W.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, but there is like a kind of a disconnect with like people that aren't serious about recovery and are just kind of like sipping and dipping. You know?
I think that gets old.
I
mean, it's like it's fine to kind of do it. For a little bit, but
perpetual newcomer disease.
I kind of am like, maybe it's time for you to find a new meeting.
Like
find
a new meeting,
obviously isn't
maybe find a new
working
program, maybe CA's better for you.
Right,
they have these behaviors that you like.
Yeah.
Because I've gone to NA and I've gone to CA because I've sponsored women from different sober livings and they were at these meetings. I'm like, yeah, I'll take you to an NA meeting. But there are behaviors in those meetings that don't remind me of like emotional sobriety.
Right. That's interesting.
Right. That mature sobriety.
Yeah.
There's like men dressed like 13-year-olds.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, you are dressed like a toddler.
Right. You're not interested in
growing up. And like that's what I'm about, that grown up life.
Well, it's like, it's funny. I don't know. I mean, I definitely, like, part of me feels, whatever, I'm 8 years sober, that like a big part of who I am sober is a result of just getting older and growing. Like sometimes I'm like, that's one of the ongoing monologues in my head. Like, would I have grown up this way? And eventually, anyway.
My getting sober was, I need to grow up.
Well, I totally agree.
Like
and I mean,
like that was it. It was like, I'm 36.
I guess that's the thing. I'm 36.
If I don't change now, this is what I'm going to be when I'm 40. This is what I'm going to be when I'm 50. That's really sad.
That was a big part of it for me too. It's like, I just need to grow up.
I can't. This is like, I'm arrested development right now. Like I am emotionally retarded at this moment. I need to get up.
Right.
I need to get up and start growing. Like this is
And you're Adele. What's your last name?
Hare.
Adele Hare.
Soon to be Adele Hare McGahey.
That's amazing.
What the fuck? I thought I was gonna marry the old dirty bastard. That was my dream.
Right.
Because I'm from Baltimore.
Balti.
So like I didn't even know I was white for quite some time.
Right.
And then people had to sit me down and be like, "We love you, girl, but you white girl." And I was like, "Why would you say that to me? That's so hurtful."
How was it? What happened?
Okay, well, I started partying like at the end of high school. I kind of dabbled like as a mid-teenager, 16, whatever, with like pot and stuff like that. And pot back then, I say pot, not weed, because now we have weed and it's like insane. But the stuff that I had when I was 16-year-old was brown, with stems and seeds, and it was shitty and you barely got high, and it was really innocent. So I started off that way, and then I distinctly remember being at a party when I was about 17 years old and drinking like 2 tall glasses of gin and juice.
Right.
And throwing up over a stockade fence with a horse in my face and being like, I'm going to do that again. You know what I mean? Like laying out on this kid's mom's bed and the room spinning like Dorothy in a tornado, And then the next day I was like, I can't wait to go back.
Why do you think you wanted to go back?
I don't know. That escapism mentality of like...
The good part of it.
Yeah.
Because there was a good part of it
before. Well, also the part that was like scary with being totally, drunk beyond my comprehension was like, I'm just not doing it perfectly.
Right.
I keep working at this.
Right.
I'm going to be a great drinker. And there was a point where I thought, I've made it. I am now a great drinker.
Right.
God has bestowed me this gift of consuming alcohol. And I started going to the rave scenes, and I started picking up like ecstasy and Special K.
Did you go back immediately? Did you get how soon did you get a chance to get drunk again?
Oh, that was it.
Right.
Like, we were those were my new friends.
Right.
I met those people, and that was my crowd.
Right.
You know, and I
and
hung
were
out
they
with
part
them.
of that rave scene?
Yeah.
Right.
My friend Kathy, I remember this distinctly. I just got a 91 Chrysler, what is it? Neon. Right. Remember the neons?
I do.
I got a brand new 91 neon,
yeah.
And we drove to DC, and we went to this rave called Buzz, and I dropped ecstasy for the first time, and I met this girl Terry, and Terry's like, I'm a stripper, and I was like, that's cool, and she's like, you want to come to the strip club? And I did, and I got offered a job, and then all of a sudden, this is the new me.
And what are you doing there? You're stripping?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Archibald's on 14th and K Street. I was still a virgin. Right. I was 18. I was still a virgin, you know. But like I would talk like I was this like sexual goddess, you know. And I wouldn't say stripper. I would say exotic dancer.
Right.
I was totally mesmerized by the culture. I see this girl who's I recognize is not as pretty as me,
right? Not
as smart as me, but she's got 2 cars, a house, and 2 kids, and she's got no man. She's doing it all on her own, and I'm like, I gotta follow what you're doing, you know. So all right, so let's do this. And Terry Newby and I, you know, working the rave scenes, and I'm like, well, I should just sell the ecstasy,
right?
Because I can sell the ecstasy to the other dancers.
So you're dancing at rave scenes?
No, dancing, going to rave parties, selling drugs, and drinking. Right. And this was like a couple of years had passed, you know?
Wow.
A few years had passed, and I...
and so, like, as a virgin doing that, like, I mean...
Oh, I didn't stay a virgin long. I didn't stay a virgin long. It was, like, I picked up, like, a boyfriend in a rave party, and, like, kept that guy as a hostage for about a year.
That must have been, though, pretty exciting to, like, get on stage
I thought,
and take your clothes off.
Fuck you, Mom and Dad. Like, I have figured out life.
And what did your parents think?
Oh, were
they aware?
I didn't even, oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. They were. I didn't talk to them.
Right. That was that.
You're an inconvenience to me with your morals and all your bullshit. Get out of here.
Right.
I'm going to DC. You stay in Baltimore, and that's 45 minutes away. You know, so you guys stay over there, and I'll be over here, and don't call me. You know, and I kind of like stayed off the grid, and I just kind of followed that whole scene around, you know, and I went up to New York, we went up to Philly, we went down to Florida to cop pills, and like that was kind of my lifestyle. And before you knew it, I was 25.
Was it like a when you'd move from place to place, were you following a party tour, or was it more like, we'll stay here for a couple months because this is the
sometimes
scene,
you know, both. Sometimes you meet some people that were like I met this rich gay guy, and he was like, you can just stay here and you know, give me drugs and you can stay here.
Right. So you're sort of dealing for him and like
Yeah. It was crazy.
Are you still dancing? Are you dancing? Yeah. So you're moving to place and picking up gigs.
Dancing was awesome because, you know, you go and you just party and you hang out with old guys and they give you money. And, you know, you got liquid courage and you got liquid cash. And, you know, it just feels like, you know, you get to be this thing, you know. You get to dress up. Everybody's kissing your ass. You know what I mean? You go from being like the ugly duckling in high school, overnight you're like
in control, this
goddess, and you've got money flowing. Money's no option. Wow. You know, drugs everywhere, cocaine everywhere, lots of cocaine, hanging out at after parties, not being old enough to drink, but hanging out and drinking with other adults. You know, and DC's pretty small, so there's like a whole like when you find that crowd, like everybody knows everybody, and you kind of like get a little circuit going. DC's very small like that. So
what was the club in DC?
It used to be called Capitol Ballroom, and it was like a dirty warehouse. And then John Boyle bought it, and he turned it into Nations, and like threw a bunch of money into it. And it was like this like mega club with like raves and then like you know, shows, Pennywise, all these different bands would come through, and I was friends with the people that worked there. So I would go to all these different events with my drugs with without an ID, and they're just come on in, just phone parties, weird shit, and then before you know it, I'm 25.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where does the time go? And so I thought, well, this is getting old. This place was getting kind of small. I pretty much fucked everybody that I could.
Right.
You know what I mean? Literally. I'm like, it's time to move on. And I found a online, and MySpace was new.
Right.
Facebook was new.
Right.
And I started meandering in like the dominatrix world and finding customers online, and I through that found Best Dancers International out of Canada, and they booked me a flight to Guam, and I went on a 6-week contract, and I stayed for about 6 years.
Wow. And what was the gig?
Buy Me Drinky Girl.
Right. Where?
At Foxy's.
And that's on Guam.
That's in Guam,
I've never been.
Yeah. It's literally it's a strip club, quote unquote.
Right.
But the point wasn't to really be a stripper. The point was to sit down with people and get them to buy you drinks.
Right.
You buy me a drink, it's $20. I keep 10, keeps 10. And I'm drinking shots of Jaeger. Like it's nothing. Drinking Marines under the table, like, And then before I know it, I'm physically dependent on alcohol. And
I mean, those customers expect that you're going to sleep with them, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You get guys that would be out to sea for 7-8 months. Right. Submariners, Navy guys, Navy SEALs. Right. There was a Navy SEAL that was like stationed there for 6 months, Right. Knew he was married. Right. Paying for sex. Yeah. And I convinced myself that like I didn't want anything more than that. Right. I wanted the things, all the material stuff. I convinced myself that I didn't want to be in a relationship. And what's your sort of life like there? Are you my life where there is like wake up, drink. Right. And do you have like a cool place to live? I did. I had a nice little railroad apartment on the beach. Oh, right. Yeah. So it's like one of those you walk in the front and all the rooms connect all the way to the back. But it was mine. It was $750 a month. Right. So you kind of got it made. There. Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. You know. But it was sad. Because I lived by myself and like I would just go to the bar, work, get paid to drink, go drink after work. Right. And then go home and like try to sleep a normal, amount of sleep. But what would happen to me is like after an hour of being without alcohol, I would wake up. Sure. And I would have to reach under the pillow and pull out that Japanese Jinro. Right. And like fix myself so that I could actually get more sleep. Yeah. But it's not real sleep when you've got booze in your veins. No, I would be convulsing sometimes. Like, right. Wow. And it wasn't enough to stop me though. I had to call the ambulance on myself like 2 times. Wasn't enough to stop me. I was in a car accident riding with people who were driving drunk. My head went through the side window in a minivan, busted it wide open, and wasn't enough to stop me. And what do you tell yourself in that situation? That these things are misfortunate. Totally. It's just, it can happen to anybody. That's so true. This happens to everybody once or... Yeah. You totally believe it. Yeah. It's the crazy thing. This is what happens. You're like, oh yeah, once in your life. And also like, I mean, you're sort of like, yeah, I'm an outlaw, I'm like, this kind of shit happens to outlaws, Oh yeah, and I definitely convinced myself of that, and I think I turned the self-loathing monologue outward on other women that worked at some of the clubs. I mean, I got into so many fights, I got a reputation with the police out there. Right. And I'm a small woman, but fueled with Bacardi 151, I'm a little, terror, like, you do some damage. Because I can't feel anything either. Right. So I'm fighting, totally. I'm pick fights with guys and like, and they're like, wait, what's going on? They'll smack me around and I'm still going like, like I'm on PCP or something. And I'm, oh my gosh. I remember I was all proud. I was like coming to the bar the next day with my pink slip from the cops saying assault and battery, drunk in public, resisting arrest. And I'm like, like. And do those charges get dismissed or do they? I guess they don't have very good records in Guam because when I left to come back to the States, I went to their main police office and asked for my transcript, and they didn't have anything. And I was like,
that's
you guys are, well, they had actual filing cabinets behind them. They're like tons. I was like, oh my God. Like,
right, so someone could theoretically dig through that, but like, no one's going to call them and be like, print this shit up.
Yeah, so like, probably... if there's any kind of records, if I went back to Guam, I might get arrested at the airport.
But maybe. You never had to, like, is that what got you to leave Guam, ultimately? Or?
No, actually, I was adopted from my mother when I was about 2 years old. My mom has this disease, too.
Right.
She's also bipolar.
Right.
And I don't know the circumstances behind why I was adopted.
Right.
All I know is that my older brother got adopted and his nephew adopted me. And then I didn't hear from her.
How much older is he than you?
13 years.
13 years,
yeah,
right.
Yeah. And so I got adopted, and I was like, first I was told that, like, she was not even alive.
Right.
Like, she's gone. Forget about her. And then Facebook happens.
Right.
And she finds me on Facebook.
Wow.
And so I'm like, oh my God, this is the answer.
Yeah.
This is what because I've been feeling so empty this whole time.
Right. This
is what I've been missing.
This is what's been missing, yeah.
What a big mistake. So I moved to Florida, and literally the night we get there, she takes me out drinking, and we get into a fist fight.
With each other?
Yeah. Yeah. I am my mother's daughter. She whipped my ass. I'm not even going to lie. She whipped my ass. And I remember sitting in the guest bedroom, like, crying, like, missing my apartment back in Guam.
That is the worst.
And,
that is the worst.
And I lived with her for about 1.5 years, and then she went out on her motorcycle, a little stoned, and got into an accident and passed away.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's horrible.
I was not upset at all.
Did you
hated
guys
her,
reconcile after your fist fight? Or it was just kind of like...
It's always awkward.
Like, you guys, like, she's like,
she's
oh, I know what you're about.
Too.
Right.
Yeah, she's bipolar too. And, like, I'm sure she saw a lot of herself in me. And, like, she would get, like, manic and be like, I'm going to buy you a car.
Right.
And then she would be like, you're a piece of shit.
Right.
Then, like, an hour later, So it was... I drank a lot over her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, you hate me. Amazing. Why do you hate me? And, like, I didn't have a locus of responsibility for my emotions. I didn't understand that.
Yeah,
you made me feel this. You made me feel that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like my feelings are happening to me. I'm not responsible for them.
Right.
And her husband, her widow.
Right.
Is trying to, like, move on with his life and date.
Right.
And I'm, like, holding him hostage.
Right.
What
town are you in?
Oh, God. Williston, Florida.
Where is
it's
that?
like Gainesville.
Right.
It's the worst.
It's the middle of it. No.
It's a swamp.
Is it in the middle of the state?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like brother and sister fucking country. It was the weirdest thing ever. And being, like, from a town where, like, I grew up in a very, black culture of the 90s, and then going down there and everybody's like, super racist. Yeah. I was like, this is a real thing.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
So messed up, right?
I hate all of you people, and I know exactly what's wrong with you.
Yeah.
But I was able to look at what was wrong with Williston and not what was wrong with me. So I drove drunk on the 10 all the way to Culver City.
From Florida. I've driven that. I've done that drive.
I kept stopping at, like, Ruby Tuesdays, like, because they would have the signs, and I'd be like, they have the biggest glasses of tequila.
Oh my God!
Because they, you go to a family restaurant, they give you these huge shots.
Right.
Chili's,
right.
Ruby Tuesdays,
like,
they get you tanked.
With your family, you need it.
They get you tanks. I'm like, hell yeah, Applebee's. And I drove. I don't remember half that drive. It took me a week. Took me a week.
Wow.
I stopped in New Orleans. I stopped in
Culver City?
I knew somebody from Virginia that had moved to Culver City. So I moved in with my girlfriend from Virginia.
Right.
And I ruined that very quickly.
Right.
Very quickly I ruined that. She was an inconvenience to my drinking, so she was a problem.
Right.
And so I moved into my car after that.
Right.
And then I kept parking my car in places it didn't belong and getting tickets.
Oh,
and then finally the city was like, you don't want your car, I guess.
Right.
And took the car with all my shit inside.
Right. God, what a nightmare.
Wasn't enough. Wasn't enough.
Yeah.
I found the Deja Vu on Hollywood, and I was like, just back to business. I can do this. Well, they didn't let you drink in there. So me.
But I mean, how did you get your car out of Hawk?
I didn't.
You didn't. So
I never did.
You just left your car with all your shit.
Just left it. It was like $2,000, and I was like, it might as well be $2 million because I don't have that, you know. So I actually stayed homeless, and I stripped, and I like stayed with some guy that I was banging for a little while, and then he would throw me out when he was tired of my bullshit. So then I started working at the Deja Vu, but they don't serve alcohol. So I don't know how to do this job sober. So I'm trying to like sneak in my own liquor. Deja Vu? It's on Hollywood Boulevard. Right. It's like 1,000 pretty girls and 3 ugly ones. Right. Is what it says on the sign. But like there's like I'm sneaking bottles of mini bottles in my boots on the way in. You know, I've got a flask filled with Johnny Walker.
Right.
And everybody's very obvious. Everybody knows what's going on. So I can't work there.
Right.
And even when I was like trying to be good and not bring in booze, I was the worst stripper ever. Right. I walk up and be like, "Do you want a lap dance?" "No, fuck you." Like no makeup, hair's not done, just wearing my regular underwear and some stripper heels. No fantasy awesome at all. Frankly, just the grossest. So I ended up like partying with some friend of mine from Guam that moved out here.
Right.
And I'm staying with her, and she goes somewhere. Oh, she went to Anaheim for the weekend, and I like almost died in her house from alcohol withdrawal. Like it was so close.
Why weren't you drinking?
I didn't have any money. I didn't have a ride. I was I was like trying to like, I was trying to like sweat it out, and it was like so close to death. And then I ended up getting an Uber to Hollywood Boulevard.
What year is this?
This was in 2015.
So you haven't been sober that long.
No.
Oh wow.
No, a lot has happened since I got sober. So I went to Glendale to some guy's house, and then like
you took an Uber to Hollywood Boulevard, and
then I ended up bumping into a guy at a bar that I knew, and then we went to his house, and then like I'm in that drunk part where you're like, my life problems. He's just like pushing my head into his lap, like, shut up, you know?
I got something that'll shut you up.
Yeah, and so then I'm like, fuck this, like, this sucks, you know? And so I steal his booze, and I walk out of his house, and I'm like, I'm gonna get in the first car of Armenians that pulls up. And like, zombie, I totally predicted that, because as soon as I got out to Glendale Boulevard, like, there were 2 guys, Armenians, black Mercedes, get in the car. Okay.
Right.
Thanks, God. Of course. And I don't remember what happened for the rest of that day. I have no idea. All I remember was the coming out of the brownout, and like no shoes, just a bathing suit. People were calling my name from across the street. I don't recognize them. No purse, no phone, no wallet. And I'm like, fuck. No idea what's been going on. I have no clue. Like, what kind of disgusting, deplorable shit I've been up to.
What have I been doing?
And so, you know, my heart broke, and I was just sick of myself. Right. And that wave.
Are you still in Glendale at that point?
Crushing tidal wave of incomprehensible demoralization just freaking pressed me down to the ground. And I look up and I see the freeway and the exit ramp. And I go, yeah, that's the answer. And so I run up the exit ramp and throw myself into traffic. And it's nighttime.
Jesus.
Yeah. This guy swerves around me and stops and like runs out, grabs me like a bouncer at a nightclub, you know. And I'm like, oh, I'm getting kidnapped. Fuck it, I don't care. Do what you gotta do. Bring it on. Bring it the fuck on. I don't give a shit. And then I don't remember how we got to where we were, but we were at some kind of motel or something. And this poor Hispanic man is like pressed up against the door, like, I don't touch you, you know, and I'm like, safe, what? Right. I didn't touch you at all. And I'm like, what, do you think I'm ugly? Like, what do you mean you didn't touch me? Like, you think you can do better? And he's like, no, I'm trying to help you. And you said you wanted to go get some help. And so I found a place. And I'm like, oh my God, I threw myself into traffic last night. Like, oh my God, that's right. And he's like, yeah, let's go to Olive View. So I'm like, all right. And I get there, and the woman that I'm talking to, I think she was just like an intake for like the Medi-Cal part, not like tell me all the problems. Yeah. So I think she just wanted my social, but I'm like, and then I did this, and then I stole, and then you know, and just like let like deluge of all this shit that's been like building up over the past like 3 or 4 years, just like, and then my mom died, and I want to kill myself, and I, just like, oh, and they're like, okay, we're gonna commit you, okay, it's you don't have to convince us, you're going to be committed, and I'm like, thank you, and so they 5150 me, and it was
5150 is involuntary commitment because you're a
voluntary commitment.
Voluntary,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so how long is that?
I was there for about 19 days.
19 days.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it took me a while to stop shaking from the, just a detox. Yeah. And then the ladies.
How long was it between leaving Florida and how long were you in LA partying?
Less than 2 years.
Right.
From when I left Florida to when I ended up trying to kill myself. Right. It just so very rapidly like unraveled, and it was like everywhere I went I'm like, this is gonna be different, but everywhere I went I literally was just torching the place. I'd go get a job, I'd torch the place. I'd go make a friend, I'd torch their freaking lives, you know what I mean? I'd taken everybody down with me. Was there like an awareness
of the behavior like during the process, like, oh my god, I just torched another fucking place?
I think there was a serious disconnect. I think I was still in that like self-pity mode where like people just don't get me.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like people are shit, you know?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes I think, God, if I had more courage, I would torch the place and then see what comes out of the ashes. But
no, I'm the one with the lighter fluid on the side of the building. Like, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, I would do things with almost like an out-of-body experience.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm the one that's throwing gasoline on the side of this guy's building and standing there with matches trying to light it. When he comes out, this actually happened. He comes out and catches me. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm trying to burn your house down. And he's like, give me that.
Right,
you know?
Right.
I'm sorry.
Right.
You know, just insanity. But when they were going to let me out of the hospital, I remembered that wasn't the first time. It just struck me. I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. After my mom died, I was day drinking at a Ruby Tuesdays in Williston, and I passed out in the parking lot in the middle of the day, and the ambulance came. And when they asked me questions, they asked me, have I ever thought of killing myself? And I was like, yeah, of course.
Right.
And so they had 5150 me back then.
Right.
But that was not voluntary. That was like, you can't leave. It was 2 weeks, and when my stepfather came to pick me up, I wanted to stay in treatment for 28 days like they were recommending.
Right.
And he goes, she doesn't need treatment. She needs to grow the fuck up. Right. And so I was like, ooh, yes, sir.
Right.
Yeah, I can't do treatment. That's for real people who really need help.
Right.
And so when she said that to me, it struck me like, oh my God, my stepfather is not here. I have all the opportunity right now. Just say yes. Yes, please help me.
Right.
And she took me to Beverly Hills to a crisis residential treatment center that's run by Adele Hare Mental Health Services. I was there for 28 days.
So you did 18 days and then 28 days.
Yeah. So I'm getting some clarity.
Right.
You know, and I'm starting to feel better. And they brought an AA meeting the first week.
Right.
And this little, I guess he was Korean guy in a suit, starts talking, and it's like everything I just told you. But, like, he was talking about it. Like, yeah, and the rave scenes, and, you know, and the next thing you know, and I'm like, I'm, like, interrupting him because I don't know you're not supposed to talk. And I'm like, oh, my God, me too. Oh, my God. I love this guy. You know what I mean?
That was your first meeting?
Yeah. This two-person panel that they brought to the Crisis Residential Treatment Center. And then before that, I never heard of AA.
Yeah, that's why.
Like, I kind of knew that it existed, but I didn't know anything beyond that it was there. Right. I didn't know, like, what it was about. And I also didn't know, like, what a big deal the Southern California, San Fernando Valley support is.
Right.
You know what I mean? And, like, it's, like, the best place in the world to get sober.
Why is that?
I don't know, apparently. I don't know, because, like, I never heard about it anywhere else. But you know what? Now, like Kevin and I went to a meeting in Omaha. And it was great.
Right.
It felt just the same as, like, going here.
Oh, I think, you know, interesting.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. But, like, when they brought the AA meeting and I heard my story come out of this guy's mouth,
right,
that little mustard seed was planted. And I was like, you know what? I could probably turn this around.
And that was at the start of your 28-day residential stay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that like day one?
That was like.
It must be early.
Yeah,
on,
it was. It was like
something, right?
I think I came in on a Friday, and that was the Monday afterwards.
Right.
You know.
Sure.
And then while you're there, they're telling you like you don't get to stay here very long, so you got to figure out where you're going to go next.
Right.
And people I'm in there with are talking about, yeah, I just get a hotel voucher, and then you can get some pills and blah blah. And they were like
they're already planning on
doing
getting
this as
back,
like
right.
yeah, and then you just 5150, and then you do this, and you come back, and then you and I was like, oh, this what? That's like having the worst day of my life over and over and over. What the fuck are you talking about? It's horrible.
Yeah.
But I asked him. I said, well, that place was co-ed, and I immediately was like, this is not what I do not need to be around guys that are neurotic and trying like having mental
Yeah.
I need to get out of here. But also I knew that like I did not know how to interact with men.
Sure.
Because I'd been a freaking prostitute for 18 years.
Right, yeah.
So I didn't know how to treat men like human beings.
Sure.
You know? So I'm like, do you have a women's only facility anywhere?
Yeah.
And they're like, yes, we know the place. We have one.
Right.
In Pacoima. And I'm like, okay, well, I'll go there.
Right.
And then I found out that I could live there for a year. I didn't have anywhere to stay. Yeah. So that was okay, yeah, whatever.
And is it like a sober living situation?
No, it's a treatment center.
You're in there, right.
It's a treatment center.
For a year?
I stayed for 10 months.
Wow.
Yeah. Changed my life.
I fucking bet.
Yeah. Yeah. It changed my life. Like, there's so much that I didn't realize. Like, I thought my problem was drugs and alcohol. And then I found out when I'm there that I'm the fucking problem. And drugs and alcohol is how I deal with myself.
Right. Yeah, totally.
What?
That's such a weird thing.
What?
I still struggle with that reality. That drugs and alcohol were not the problem.
But once I was able to accept that, then like shit got easier, and like the whole like I didn't even, if you had asked me the first month I was in there, like, what's humility? I'd have been like, I don't know. It's one of those machines that you know like clears the air. I don't know. No clue. You know what I mean? Like, describe humility. I have no fucking idea what you're talking about.
Right.
Altruism. I would have to look it up in the dictionary. I had no idea, like, these concepts and principles and what it was. I was just one of those people that lived in the world, and I took and took and took and took and took because you owe me.
Right.
You know? It's insane. And then so, like, I got a sponsor. I worked the steps. And then I got a job in the 10th month I was there. At the Cheesecake Factory. Is horrible. Horrible. It was so bad. But I was able to stay there for 6 months anyways and practice the principles that I learned and deal with difficult situations without wanting to drink, without wanting to fight.
Right.
Without wanting to just quit and never come back.
Yeah.
You know, and I recognized the value in that right away.
And, yeah. Could you feel that when, like, that impulse to, like, torch the place when you stepped away from that and instead, like, you're like, oh, wow, this can be resolved. Like,
yeah.
I can be the adult in this situation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty transformative shit. And so I went from the Cheesecake Factory. I got offered a job at, this place is closed now, but it was called Footprints Behavioral Health. Also, it was called, when I first got hired, it was called Cool Living. And then they changed the name, and now they're completely gone. But I remember, you know, working as the chef there, and like they had like, it was kind of like a vacation rehab.
Right.
So
where?
Like
in
it was in
Hollywood
Winnetka.
In Winnetka.
Yeah, it was like a house.
And
some Armenian guy owned
it.
You know, some Armenian guy owned it, and like, so I'm like working in the kitchen, and like these women are coming in with their arms chewed up from heroin, and they're going, "This isn't gluten free. I can't eat this."
Yeah, and
I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, where's your gratitude?
Amazing.
Where's your humility? You know?" And I'm realizing like, oh, but I had a little bit of a reverse thing, because like I'm all of a sudden I'm humble as fuck, and you're a piece of shit now.
Right.
So I had to go through that too.
Sure.
Where I realized like, oh, you know, tolerance also.
Right. Yeah.
Humility and tolerance. Okay, now I get it. Okay. You know, and I'm just like, I think I'm just constantly peeling back a new layer. You know what I mean? Like as I get older and as I experience new things, like being in a relationship, I stayed away from dating. When I got sober, I said, you know what? I threw out the address book. I got rid of the Facebook. I just deleted it. I didn't even tell anybody. I just deleted the whole thing. And I cut ties with my old life. Yeah. You know, just, you know what? We're going to start over. Right. We're changing it, and we're changing everything. Sure. And so I was like, okay, no dating. Yeah. None of that shit. And I ended up becoming friends with Kevin from Moore Park. Right. His friend Drew was my friend. He's like a younger guy, but he has a great story too. And I just kept seeing this redheaded guy everywhere, you know. And then when I decided, I'm like, you know, I guess it's been a year now since I've been out of treatment. And I guess I can start dating. Right. And so I get a Tinder app. And who's is the first picture I see? No way. Freaking Kevin McGahee. That's amazing. So I didn't swipe right though. Right. I didn't. I was like, you know what? He's my friend on Facebook. Right. So I was like, hey, you're on Tinder? Right. Nice. I saw your photo on Tinder. And so we started hanging out like as friends. Right. And then one time he tells me about this like Tinder date that he went on. And this ball of fire erupted in my stomach. And I'm like, who's this person and where does she live so I can kill her? I want this person dead. And then I'm like, yeah, you can't do this anymore because I like you. Right. Oh, you that's amazing. So I kind of tricked him into dating me. You guys are getting married, right? Yeah. When is that happening? Have you picked a date? Next June. Well, we picked June 6th, but one of my bridesmaids is going to be at her brother's wedding on that day, so we might have to revisit the date. Right. But June-ish next year. Right. And that, you know, this is somebody who has been paid for a relationship and never really been in a relationship. Right. So, you know, I'm having to work my steps a lot and realize, you know, that this is not something I don't deserve. Right. You know, and that it's proof that my life is redeemed. Yeah. You know, if anything, it's not that, you know, it's going to, you know, go away. You know, because that was like one of my initial fears was like, this guy's going to find out what a, you know, piece of shit I am. Right. And he's going to wise up. Yeah. You know. But again, the steps, man. The steps help you like get over that. Like I don't owe for the life that I have, but I was feeling like I mean, I think we all feel that way. I mean, I always feel like I don't deserve any of it. Like you're a phony? I'm not just that I'm a phony, but that like, you know, sometimes I feel like life has given me so much more than I deserve, that I'm entitled to, that like, if there is like karmic justice in the universe, it will all be taken away from me in a brutal, horrible manner that I deserve. I have a friend who's not in the program, and she's just a Christian. And we had breakfast today, and she was just like, Adele, she's like, you know, God saved you, and now He's giving you all these gifts. You don't have to do anything for it. You just say thank you. What? That's it? Yeah, that's all you have to do is just be grateful. Appreciate it. Enjoy it. It's not going to last forever. Right. You know what I mean? Like, and that doesn't mean it's going to get taken away, but like, life is short. Yeah, yeah. And you know, things come and go, you know, and things change, you know? But it's like, you know, it's a trip because I am so far removed from my old life, yet it wasn't that long ago. Yeah, no, I mean, I guess that's one of the things that my brain has struggled to sort of understand. Everything happens so fast. Like, I thought you were like 18 years sober. Right? How long have you been sober? I got sober July 3rd, 2015. So you're nearly 4 years, right? Yeah. Oh, and it has been like a bullet train. It's interesting. Know? Like one of the things you said early on in this was, you know, you wanted to grow up. I mean, at what point? Because it's funny, you know, your stepfather had said she just needs to grow up, and now you get sober, and you're like, well, this
this is what I'm going to this is going to be how I grow up on some level,
Yeah.
like recognizing like I can never grow up if I'm using drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
At what point did that sort of realization come into your recovery?
I literally said to Kevin, so I now work for the company that got me sober.
Right.
I work for Adele Hare Mental Health Services.
Cool. Right. And what do you do?
I am the food service manager, but I'm also a substance abuse counselor.
Right. Nice.
So, I'm helping women in the same capacity that I was helped.
Right.
And that is just an amazing gift in itself.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
After schlepping it on food trucks and Cheesecake Factory and shitty rehabs that don't really care about the people they're treating, only their insurance money.
Right, sure.
And being treated like crap by employers, and then finally, having a job where I'm valued, I'm doing something that is, God's will. I'm helping other women who absolutely don't see hope.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's amazing on its own. But then like they asked me to do a testimonial as like one of their success stories. Mm-hmm. So I did a written interview, which is going to be in the quarterly magazine. Uh-huh. They came by and they did a photo shoot. But now they're coming Thursday the 16th to do a video testimonial.
Right.
And they had given Kevin and I last month free tickets to the Erasing the Stigma gala event.
Nice.
And so we're there and we're on the red carpet and we're taking photos, and then I like lean over to Kevin. I'm like, I feel like a full grown up now.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Oh my God, I'm 40.
Right.
I'm getting married. I'm getting recognized at like this corporate event where like we're raising money for suicide awareness and substance abuse awareness. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is really my life.
Yeah. There was something else you said that I thought was really interesting. Was this, when you reconnected with your mother?
Yeah.
How long ago was that?
It was in 2010.
Oh wow! So not that long ago either.
No, everything's been so fast.
And that's why you left Guam, right? You left Guam to basically see your mom, and you at the time you said that you thought, oh, here's the reason,
Yeah. This is why I feel so empty. I'm missing this woman.
And have you now? I mean, that wasn't the case, or
no?
What is the case? Do you think you've gotten sort of some sense of like where that hole?
Yeah, it's a God-sized hole. I was spiritually bankrupt.
Right.
I had no sense of belonging and no sense of power. And what I've gotten through being a part of this community here in Southern California, and then also reconnecting with, because I think everybody is inherently good, You start off as, like, I started off as somebody's little girl.
Sure.
Before I got ideas of my own.
Right.
And set off on this new path. But, like, there was a little girl that had, like, innocent dreams. And so, like, that's always kind of, I feel like I've always still been in here.
Yeah.
But, like,
wow.
Like this little tiny version of it, just, like, let me out.
Right. Yeah.
And now I can, things like I would never have told people that I grew up on a farm. Like, I would rather that I smoke crack. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'd rather that
farm?
Right outside of DC. It was a strawberry farm. There's berries.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That sounds
idyllic. I would have never told people that.
Right.
I would have been like, yeah, I sucked a whole line of dicks, an hour ago. No problem. I would tell you that. I don't give a shit, But not that I grew up on a farm. Like, what the fuck kind of sick, twisted mentality is that?
Yeah.
Like, ashamed that, I'm normal.
Right.
Ashamed that, like, I kind of grew up in the suburbs a little bit outside of the city. I kind of grew up with two regular parents who don't drink.
Where are they now?
I mean? Well, they're divorced, but my dad is gonna give me away at my wedding. He lives in Southern Maryland. He loves Kevin. And
Kevin's
it's
lovable.
Yeah. And then my mom, she has her own little place, also in the same town, but like, she's doing her own thing.
And how do they view your sort of
she
recovery?
She's proud of me, but she also doesn't like to talk about the fact that I'm in AA. I think she feels a little embarrassed about it. Like it says something about her, like it speaks about her parenting or something. My dad's 100% on board with it. He and I had a terrible relationship until I got sober.
Interesting. Yeah.
So and I was actually able to look at my dad as a human being with real thoughts, real feelings, and not hold him in contempt for any mistakes he made for the rest of his life. I had to be able to forgive him. And that actually helped me a lot. I didn't realize that I needed to have a good relationship with my father. Because like I said, I fooled myself into thinking that I didn't want to be married. I didn't want a relationship. I didn't want kids. I didn't need a family.
Right.
These are things that I felt like I didn't have. And instead of being sad that I didn't have them, I would say that I didn't want them anyways.
Right.
That is bullshit.
Yeah.
Not true.
And I feel like I'm grilling you. I'm sorry. Does it feel like you're being grilled?
No, not at all.
All right, good. Because I'm just sort of curious. The coming back to that notion of like the God-sized hole in your heart. Like, what do you like? How do you? What is your higher power? Is it like a Christian God? Is it like a...
Nah, because a Christian God is punishing.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I can't beholden to that because I'm self-punishing.
Did you have any sort of like God moment where you were like, oh, this is the thing that's been missing?
Yeah. I think it was like when I learned how to pray, when I learned how to, my counselor told me, pray. And I said, I don't believe in that. And she goes, you don't have to. Just do it anyways. And so I'm like, all right, whatever. But then things happened and I started to feel different. And I got this friend who's a Christian and I would complain to her like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay my bills. And she's like, why don't you trust God? Right. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? And so like, she's like, yeah, you should just, tell God, like, dude, you got to take care of this stuff. And so I'm like, all right, fine. And I take the suggestion, I try this out, and then things get better. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't say that there's no proof. I mean, I can't prove it to anybody else, but it's been proven to me.
Right.
Yeah,
there is God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves.
There's something going on. There's something going on that's beyond my control. And when I take my power back, I feel it. When I take my power back and I think I know something, when I'm left to my own devices with my own thoughts, I don't even need to get drunk to burn my life to the ground. I've just realized that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can do that all by myself.
Sure. Yeah. Totally.
Holy shit. Holy shit. Really I'm chock full of nuts. You know what I mean? Like, wow. Right. Left to my own thoughts, it gets like increasingly small. And then like the whole car ride over here, I'm taking a suggestion from my Christian friend again. We had breakfast this morning, and she's like, when you hear the noise, that negative self-talk, she's like, say out loud, God, thank you for this, thank you for that. So I'm like driving, and I'm like, thank you for the AC, thank you for my car, thank you for Pandora in my car, thank you for the Eagles. Thank you, thank you for technology. And I'm just like saying, like, without even thinking too hard about it, just like whatever I see, and I'm naming people, and I'm like, thank you for Kathleen McGahee, Kevin's mom,
right.
And, my mom, and, and I realize, like, the more I'm saying it out loud, the more I'm like, okay, things aren't that bad. Because it's real easy to get, like, stuck on stupid. Like, I don't have this one little tiny thing, and so then everything can go fuck itself until I get this one thing that I want, or how I think people should act, or how I think something should be.
It's amazing how that just, like, the little things can overwhelm you, you're like, oh, I've got dirty dishes in the sink, and I have to do the laundry, and I have to get it all done by 10 a.m. because I've got to take my daughter to her thing. I'm never going to be able to do it all. And then it's like, just fucking shut up and start doing it. And then you're like, oh, well, who cares if I don't finish it all? Or whatever. Somehow, just in the doing of the stuff, a little bit of that terror dissipates.
Yeah, that's how it was for me when they said at work, they're like, okay, you need to get into school, you know, because, you know, you got to get certified for your, like, I'm practicing as a substance abuse counselor, but I'm not certified yet. I'm registered, but I'm not certified. And so I'm like, oh, great. Like, I haven't really been in school since Bone Thugs and Harmony was new. Like, oh my God. This is intense, you know, like I'm going to go to school. Oh, I'm going to be the old person there. Like all these thoughts come in. Oh my God. I have not gotten less than an A on any assignments, any of my exams. I'm like totally like doing this and it's not even that hard. And I love my professor and like, I like school. I'm like, oh my God, it was so much worse in my head though.
Yeah.
My head was like, don't do it. You know, it's going to be terrible. It's so scary. You know, you're going to fail.
I was thinking this morning about, just again, that list of things that I have to do and that voice telling me I'm never going to be able to get through all of this stuff. And yet for 48 years, I'm like, that was you doing that. You know, like you can do all this. Yeah. Like, I don't know why, I don't know how at 48 years old, I can still wake up and be like, you're going to crack under the pressure of this. And yet every day I wake, at some point during the day, I get myself convinced that I'm an incompetent, retarded fuckwad who just will, you know, is going to be, you know, by the end of the day, weeping in a corner of my own pool of my own tears. And that rarely it happens.
Right.
But very rarely. Anyway. Well, Adele, this has been great.
Yeah.
I
think you.
I think this is it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like we
covered it all.
This thing.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's wild.
It is.
Really wild.
It is. You know, like passengers on a great liner shipwreck. You know what I mean? The camaraderie of having survived our alcoholism. You know what I mean? I heard a woman share last night that, you know, she had a very high bottom and she's like, I don't think I would have lasted a week in your life.
Right.
And I was like, damn, you know?
Right.
Because, like, I think Kevin was even talking about somebody that came into his job at LA Family Housing, and this guy was just talking about all these, you know, terrible things that he's just experienced, all this trauma. And Kevin's thinking, like, I don't think I would have been able to survive one of those things. And this guy's, you know, the most horrible things have happened. This guy's still standing up. Yeah. You know, I'm like, yeah, you know. It's amazing. It is.
The human capacity.
It is.
Survival.
It is.
It really is.
It is. I don't know if I could do it again. I don't think I have any. I don't think I have anything left in me.
Let's not fucking do that again, right?
Yeah. I don't think. I think that part of it's over. I don't think I could go back to that at all. No way.
Awesome. Thanks.
Drunkalogs cover art is designed and created by John DeManil, and the Drunkalogs theme song is composed and performed by Stephen Stout. I am Nick Morton.